2008. And now the time you are the director of UGC Himalayan Mission Training Center, UGC MMTC, University of Kashmir, Srinagar. Your previous job, sir, College of Business Administration, Jazan University, Jazan, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Then head of the department, Business of Economics, Mazun College, Sultanate of Oman, Muscat. Then chairmanship, Research Committee, Mazun College, Sultanate of Oman, Muscat. You did well, sir. अगर मैं कहना चाहूँ, मेरे पास जो जानकारी है वो समय बहुत कम होगा और आपके बारे में जानकारी जो है मैं पूरे दिन बोलता रहूंगा, बट येट इट इज नेसेसरी टू से टू यू, क्योंकि कुछ लोग थे जो वक्त के सांचे में डल गए, कुछ लोग जो है वक्त के सांचे बदल गए. यू आर वन ऑफ देम. अगर एक्सपीरियंस की बात करें तो सर एक्सपीरियंस आपका बहुत ही वंडरफुल एक्सपीरियंस है. मैं कहना चाहूंगा ऑल जितने लिसनर्स हैं यहाँ पर, आपने 2015 से लेकर 1990 से लेकर 2015 तक टीचिंग एक्सपीरियंस आपका वंडरफुल रहा है. मैं उसमें से कुछ बताना चाहूंगा. डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ कॉमर्स, यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ कश्मीर, श्रीनगर. एज ए प्रोफेसर, कॉलेज ऑफ बिजनेस एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, जजान यूनिवर्सिटी. एज ए फैकल्टी, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ बिजनेस एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, माजून कॉलेज, सल्तनत ऑफ ओमान, मस्कट. आई डिड से ऑलरेडी. एक्सपीरियंस, रिसर्च एक्सपीरियंस आपका अगर कहें, योर experience research is also very amazing. One of them I'll tell you, your project title evaluation, University Grant Commission, from University Grant Commission 2015. Then postdoctoral dissertation guided as guided women empowerment through decision. These are ICSR, from ICSR. And sir, lots of knowledge about yourself has to me, but something I will tell you. आपका एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव एक्सपीरियंस बहुत ही कामयाब रहा. एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन एक्सपीरियंस has also been better or going on rapidly. You are the director UGC Mali Mission. Already I'll tell you. I'll tell you, Mission Teacher Training Center. Then Dean, School of Business Studies, University of Kashmir. Chief Editor, the Business of Review, School of Business Studies, Kashmir. And Director, Center for Career Planning and Counseling, CCPC. Lots of work done by you, better. But now the time, today we all will take advantage of lecture of Professor Nazir sir. Now I invited and delivered to your lecture the title of Institutional Anatomy. Welcome, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for your very exhaustive kind of introduction about me. And yeah, I'm in the profession of teaching for a pretty long time now. It's 1989. I have taken over the assignment as a lecturer that we used to call as lecturers. Anyways, I welcome you all to this today's session. And in fact, the session would be around the academic institutions, and we'll be dealing with the academic leadership broadly. Academic leadership. And I know that some of you might just be thinking in terms of that, since you are not as yet academic leaders, but that time is not that far off, that when we will take the reins of different departments, different institutions, and I'm sure it's always appropriate that we are prepared for those roles in advance. I'm just sharing my slides, and I hope that they are visible to you all.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
they talk about
Yes, sir. It is visual.
Fine, that's great. That's great. So we shall be just talking about academic leadership, and it has become a kind. Yes, please.
Excuse me, sir. Can I share? Sir, हम conversation को bilingual रख सकते हैं क्या?
अच्छा, मैं कोशिश करूंगा, इंशाल्लाह कोशिश करूंगा कि मैं बीच में हिंदी उर्दू बोलूंगा और इंग्लिश साथ साथ में रहेगा. थोड़ा सा मुझे प्रॉब्लम मेरा रहता है उस चीज का कि I normally do not switch to other language. I always speak whatever little I know about English. I speak in English, but I'm sure that my words will not be that problematic, that you will not be able to understand them. But anyways, I will try, inshallah. In between, I would be there somewhere using Hindi, Urdu, so that you are able to properly pick me up. That's very important. So, जहाँ तक academic leadership का, as you know that this has become a kind of a buzzword. Academic leadership. Leadership is already there. then the addition of prefix of what we call as academic leadership. Yani it gives a kind of a feel that leadership is something which is basically concerned here or confined to the academic institutions. Of course, we know when it comes to leadership, leadership is something which is all encompassing, and leadership is something which is required in every walk of our life. Be we as teachers, we are leaders there. Be we as the heads of the departments, the deans of the schools, and in fact taking over, I can say, contributions and responsibilities back in our own homes. From there on, we are actually the leaders. So leaders are those who basically are always, I can say, in a spirit of guidance, and we can say in a spirit of direction. They always have these important kinds of contours in their personalities. वो हमेशा इस चीज के हिसाब में रहते हैं कि भाई लोगों को कैसे गाइड किया जाए, काउंसिल किया जाए, how to basically bring them up, how to direct them, their efforts, उनको अच्छाई की तरफ कैसे ले लिया जाएगा. Leaders have a very important role to play in making or shaping the organizations as well. And it's not only confined to the corporate world, the business organizations only, and in fact, for that matter, the political organizations only, but their role is all over, everywhere, very pervasive, and they are absolutely required and significantly required by all different types of organizations. The organizations who don't have the strong, relevant, men of integrity or authentic leaders surely only faces, I can say, demise or a decline और डेवस्टेशन. और तो उस लिहाज से अगर देखा जाएगा तो लीडरशिप बहुत ही अहम है. और फिर उन इंस्टीट्यूशंस की अगर बात की जाएगी जो नेशनल बिल्डर्स हैं, नेशनल बिल्डिंग जिसे होती हैं, यानी ओवरऑल अगर हम देखा जाए all the education institutions starting from primary, middle, secondary, college or the university level, all are actually responsible for spreading knowledge, education, research and all that. And so naturally, this is a kind of a domain, this is a kind of a sector where we cannot be oblivious of the responsibilities of the leaders. So while we talk about leaders in the government, in rest of the organizations, how is it possible that we can be oblivious about the role and responsibilities of leaders in the academic institutions? So naturally, academic institutions which are building the nations, you have got the students there, all through from their primary level to middle to secondary to college to then university level. So naturally, these are the kinds of institutions who ought to be taken more seriously. When you talk about seriously, it basically revolves around the leaders in these kinds of organizations. Be as a teacher, academic teacher, a teacher simply, a faculty, or be a dean, or as I talk about directors, coordinators, and all, they have got a very important responsibility. I must say a very supreme responsibility. But what happens with this is that in most of the cases, given the kinds of policies and programs and procedures that we have in vogue at present, especially in the government sector, is that all those who basically have some basic, we can say, qualification, basic qualification, I mean that they have, spend a good amount of time, and that becomes a reason for them to be promoted as heads of the departments, or the deans of the schools, or the directors, or for that matter, the principals of the colleges. So the basic criteria is not whether these people are exposed to leadership or they are not. The basic funda is, the basic criteria is actually that they have a seniority, and by dint of that seniority, they become the leaders. And therefore, when they take up a role of a leader, they are not always as successful as they ought to be or they are expected to be. They do a very routine kind of a work. And as a result of that, they could be simply dubbed as managers, not as leaders. उनके बारे में कहा जा सकते हैं मैनेजर्स. जैसे हम कहते हैं ना, कभी कोई काम हमें दिया जाता है, हम क्या कहते हैं कि भाई हम इसको मैनेज करेंगे. मैनेज करने का मतलब है कि जिस हद तक इसको जाना है उसी हद तक जाएंगे, उससे ज्यादा नहीं जाएंगे. मैनेज कर पाएंगे, कोशिश करेंगे, एक अटेम्प्ट करेंगे इस चीज को. लीडर का काम मैनेज नहीं करना होता है, लीडर का काम है उससे बियॉन्ड जाना है. Leaders are always in pursuit of doing things which are beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. That's why they are different. That's why they are considered as leaders, not as managers. So one of the important distinctions that we say and see in leaders is that they are very innovative, and they are the kind of guys who are always in pursuit of doing very different things, not like the ordinary managers. So that's one of the important things. Since I picked up from the leadership as such, we say that they are all the more necessary in the academic institutions as they are in the corporate businesses on the corporate world. Now look, the other aspect of the same, who will be in the corporate world, who will be running the businesses? By and large, who are the management trainees? We have got different professionals coming out from various different professional institutions. In fact, who makes them is again a teacher, be it a medical profession, be it any kind of a profession. I mean, wherever we find that there is a taught and a teacher kind of a relationship, we always find that teacher has a very significant role to play to mold the people, to guide them properly, to direct them properly. So in the course of today's session, we shall be discussing about the same academic leadership and how important academic leaders are in our organizations, in our education institutions. And now the point basically is that why has it attracted much of a, what we can say, significance? We say that one of the important basically reasons for it is the National Education Policy 2020, because National Education Policy 2020 has come up with different kinds of challenges, and those challenges are not possible to be met by the ordinary managers, simple people who have been just promoted to be the principals or heads of the departments or deans of the schools. A very different kind of a line of action is required to be taken by the leaders. That's very important. That's why I'm saying that leaders are different. They have to take a very different kind of a line, and they have to be very innovative, and they have to foresee the challenges their departments are facing. There we can say colleges are facing, if we take it in the context of the education institutions, their universities are facing. So naturally, academic leaders have to be altogether different in their deal, and I can see their dealings and in their actions. Am I audible to you, please?
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Okay. So I will just inshallah try to switch over to the Kashmir or Urdu Hindi language as well, जहाँ जब भी मुझे मौका मिला. अब देखो जहाँ तक लीडर की बात है, अब इसमें क्या क्या हम पढ़ेंगे, क्या मतलब हमें किस चीज पे इंटरेक्ट करना और फोकस करना होगा. अब जाहिर सी बात है कि आप ये कहेंगे कि भाई हमें इस चीज की भी आवश्यकता नहीं है, जरूरत नहीं है कि भाई अभी हम तो या तो इन इन्फेंसी ऑफ करियर्स है, या ये भी मुमकिन है कि आप में से बहुत सारे स्कॉलर्स भी होंगे. लेकिन मैं एक चीज आपको बताते चलूंगा, चाहे आप स्कॉलर हों या आप अभी फैकल्टी और इन इन्फेंसी ऑफ करियर्स हों, आपको ये बहुत ही जरूरी जानना होगा कि दैट हाउ शुड वी बिहेव, how should we behave as leaders. You will have different kinds of roles, and you will find that in one or the other, or in one or the other occasions, you will be surely serving as leaders. So having a proper exposure to what leadership is all about, how should we deal in different kinds of situations, what is demanded of us in different kind of situations, we need to be exposed to it. We need to know about it. So we shouldn't have this kind of a mindset that we are not leaders as yet. We are in the infancy of our careers. It is going to take a lot of time, maybe 20 years to be the head of the department or to be the principal of the college. That's not something you have to bear in mind. What you shall have to bear in mind is that right from this time, you will have different kinds of roles to play. And as a result of in each of these roles, you have to act as a leader. You have to act as a parent. You have to act as something very different, unlike a manager. So that basically has to be a kind of a mindset that you should have when it comes to understanding the leadership and trying to understand it actually. Now look at this particular statement was given by Charles Talleyrand, and who says that I am more afraid of an army of 100 sheep. Ab andaza lagao. I am more afraid of an army of 100 sheep led by a lion. So lion matters a lot. आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में बहुत सारे अगर ऐसे टीचर्स होंगे, नॉट टीचिंग स्टाफ होगा जो काम करने के लायक नहीं है या चाहते नहीं है, लेकिन उसके उनके ऊपर जो लीडर है, चाहे प्रिंसिपल होगा, जो हेड होगा, वो शेर जैसा हो, यानी उसके अंदर एक विजन हो, पता है कि मुझे क्या करना है, करेजियस हो, उसके अंदर पूरी इस किस्म की शक्ति हो कि मैंने कैसे लोगों से काम लेना है, then surely he would act as a lion. That's what Charles Taylor, and he's talking about that I am more afraid of an army of 100 sheep led by a lion than an army of 100 lions. अब अगर मेरे नीचे बहुत ही शक्तिशाली, बहुत ही जबरदस्त किस्म के लोग होंगे, काफी डायनेमिक लोग होंगे, पढ़े लिखे होंगे, मेहनत कश होंगे, अच्छे होंगे, लेकिन बदकिस्मत ये होगी कि जो ऊपर बंदा बैठा होगा, he would be a sheep like. He won't be able to get anything good from them because he is a sheep-like person. He won't be knowing how he should act and how should he deal with his own, subordinates. So point basically is that this particular statement, in fact, signifies the importance of leaders, how important leaders are. So they have a very decisive and very important role to play in any kind of an organization. Ultimately, you say that decide के तौर पर हम बात करते हैं भाई ये ठीक नहीं है, वो ठीक नहीं है, वो ठीक नहीं है. हम बात क्या कहते हैं कि भाई मिसमैनेजमेंट है, तरीके से काम नहीं हो रहा है. मिसमैनेजमेंट, कितनी बार हम ये वर्ड इस्तेमाल करते हैं, भाई मिसमैनेजमेंट है, कोई चीज ढंग से नहीं हो रहा है. असल में किस चीज का फुकदान है, कमी है, वो लीडर का है. जो ऊपर बैठा बंदा है वो तरीके से अपनी कौम को पहचानता नहीं है, और जो उसके अंदर और मातहती लोग हैं, जाहिर सी बात है कि दे अकॉर्डिंगली रन द अफेयर्स. अब देखो, जैसे मैं अभी मैंने कहा कि लीडरशिप और जहां तक मैनेजमेंट का ताल्लुक है, दे आर नॉट द सेम, देयर इज अ बिट ऑफ अ डिफरेंस, एंड द डिफरेंस लाइज इन द एक्शंस दे डू. I mean the leader of the manager. Now, one of the important definitions given very nice it is, and that talks about that it is a process of guiding and directing the behavior of people. अंदाजा लगाओ, बहुत ही जबरदस्त definition उस लिहाज से. is a process हम basically कहते हैं कि जो over a period of time होगा और continuous होगा. या ऐसी बात नहीं है कि that you are a leader and the way you guide your subordinates, you direct their efforts, you direct their behaviors, that is final in one go. No, it takes its own time. It does not happen overnight. It does not happen in a jiffy. It will take its own time. So naturally, we say that when it comes to leadership, it's a process. It's a process, guiding and directing the behavior of people in the work environment. Formal leadership, for example, is in contrast to this. When you talk about formal leadership, we say officially sanctioned leadership based on the authority of a formal position. Formal leadership, which is officially sanctioned leadership, based on the authority of a formal leader. Just a minute, please. I have some important message. I will just respond it, please. Just a minute. Okay, so when it comes to leadership, we have formal and informal. Leadership on the whole is a process of guiding and directing the behavior. And when we talk about here leadership, we are here more concerned with the work environment. Now formal. Formal is basically an officially sanctioned leadership. So a person is vested with the powers, with the authority by the concerned organization he belongs to. Then we have informal leadership. Here a person does not hold any kind of a authority given to him by the organization as such. So then in that case, we say when it is informal leadership, unofficial leadership, which is accorded to a person by other members of the organization. So he doesn't have of his own any kind of an official position. But you also see in our education institutions, some people being so much, we can say, respected, honored, not because they have got any kind of an authority, and they are being listened to. You hear them, you follow them, you seek guidance from them, counseling from them. They give you directions, though they don't hold any kind of official power. But it is because of the kind of charisma that these people have. They are very informal kind of leaders who don't have the formal leadership, I can say, role, this authority, but because they are being held in very high esteem in the given organization. So you are very ready to listen them, seek their counseling and all that. Then followership is basically concerned, it's opposed to leadership. Here it's the process again. If you have to learn something, you have to be something, you have to understand something, the process of being guided and directed, this is very essential. So in the first case, when it comes to a leader, is guiding and directing the behavior. Here we say that is a process of being guided and simultaneously directed. Now, there is, I can say, minute for academic purposes also, how management is different from leadership. We say that when it comes to management process, it involves planning, directing, organizing, and all that. Some of the participants who maybe belonging to commerce or management stream, sociology, psychology, by and large, they come across these kinds of terms, management as a process. While management is required by all of us, but then they are more exposed to it. They know it far better when it comes to management processes, all these different kinds of given functions of the managers. And what basically manager is doing, the management process or the managers, they essentially reduce uncertainty. Why we have this planning, why we have budgeting, why we are organizing. So we have all these different kinds of management functions and processes, only that we try to do away with any kind of future uncertainty. We want to sail through properly. We don't want that we should have different kinds of problems to face. So you are trying to manage in that context. So therefore, when it comes to management, management is more concerned with doing away with uncertainty and also trying to stabilize the organization. Stability in an organization is all that matters to the managers. Therefore, all those who manage, and they manage with the view of avoiding uncertainty and also maintaining stability. Unlike, we can say, managers, leaders have a very different role to play. That's what you have to be. Leaders are basically trend setters. They set the trend. They are setting a direction. They align people with that direction through communication and motivating them to action. So they are always inspiring. Leaders have a very different kind of roles to play. Since they're not there to maintain status quo. They're not there to, we can say, reduce uncertainty, but they are there to create. Now look at this particular statement, that leaders who want to do different things, naturally, when you want to do things differently, when you want to do different things, there is an obvious chance of opposition. There is an obvious chance of opposition. People would agitate against you because they are being asked to do away with the routines that they were doing. And when that happens, people start, I can say, agitating, conspiring against. So there will be a lot of things that are possible to happen. And as a result of that, leaders have to be very bold. And once they create that uncertainty, they should be able to stabilize the situation in the sense that the opposition is properly convincing. And there will be still some people who would start opposing, but you won't be, I can say, hindered with the kind of a mission that you have taken as a leader. You will be hardly, we can say, buckled down by them. आप उससे खामोश नहीं हो जाओगे, आप silent नहीं हो जाओगे. You will continue because there it is in your, somewhere in your mind, in your heart, that I have to do something very different. So therefore, we say that when it comes to leaders and when it comes to managers, there is surely a difference. The point basically is that, does it mean that managers are, not contributing? Nobody can deny the fact that managers also do contribute, but their contributions surely differ. For example, when it comes to leaders and managers, both make a contribution to an organization, but each other's contribution is surely different. Leaders agitate for change. They don't want to maintain status quo. They want to do things very differently. And therefore, their approach to problems are always new. So there is a problem, it's a constant problem. The way they deal with those problems would surely be very different one compared to the managers who advocate, as I said, stability and the status quo. They're more concerned with that. I said that when it comes to the implementation of National Education Policy 2020, this is impossible that we can live with the past practices. We can live with what we have been doing in the past. Something different is must to be done in order to basically sail through and in order to basically face the challenges that the education institutions are going to face. Now, there is a difference in your own contours, in your own contexts. You have got lots of private colleges coming up. And see, there is, a huge competition with the private colleges. And as a result of that, we have to mark our impression in the society that we are running the colleges, we are running the universities, they are of equal, or in fact, more of a standard than you have got in the private. How is that possible to happen? We have to do something very different. Private colleges and universities will not wait for things to happen in a very bureaucratic kind of a way. That's impossible to happen. We have to be very proactive in this regard. We have to be very cautious about it. That government support will not come always. Even this very point in time, the government-run institutions are being told and strictly told to generate funds of their own. Generation of funds is not going to happen unless and until our university is so attractive to the public, to the society, to the students. And you have got very innovative kind of courses. Who will make all that? That's not possible unless and until you have got autonomy at the very first instance. And second, you are so visionary. Your leaders are so visionary. Your principals are so visionary. They take a very different kind of a line. They are acting differently. So their role is surely very different because of the kind of a competition there is in the educational sector. Gone are the days that we hardly would have any private college or university. Now it's a mushroom growth. And then you've got international colleges and universities to set up. The government is so interested in order to raise the level of competition. That on one side is good, but on the side, it has got lots of issues and problems. There are already some exchange programs going on with lots of universities, lots of colleges with the, we can say, universities and colleges of the different countries, foreign countries. So the point basically is that with such a huge kind of a competition, it's impossible that we can be complacent with our past practices. Something very different is bound to be done. That's what will make our colleges and universities more attractive. We can have more funding. We can spend more money on research, teaching. We can have more courses. It's a vicious circle. It has got lots of implications on the overall functioning and the growth and prosperity of our institutions. So our role is absolutely phenomenal and very essential, very important. And we have to keep in mind that what roles we are playing and what roles we are expected to play. That's very essential, it's very important. Then also look at the public image that we have to create as teachers, as leaders, public image, as scholars, as teachers, how students, how the society at large is perceiving about own college or university. We have to change the perception if it is wrong. We have to go to different kinds of studies, conduct studies, try to understand what is the public perception of my university, how we are treated by the public at large, and why we can make improvements, where we can make advances. So all this is required. So today's leaders are not supposed to just be in cozy rooms, sit there and go on signing the files. A principal is not supposed to do only that part. He has a role which is more dynamic, which is more crucial given the kind of a competition that we education institutions are facing nowadays. Am I audible to you, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when it comes to, again, the same leadership, we will not be doing justice with knowing that what leadership theories and models we have and what we follow and how we can do something which is good for us and good for the institution that we belong to. There have been lots of models, lots of theories that have come into leadership, lots of it. Everybody has tried to speak on, everyone from different countries, from different parts of the world, from different parts of the country as such. People are contributing, huge and bulk of articles are being written on leadership. And when it comes to leadership, it has come from somewhere. There have been some models developed, some theories developed by some theorists and authors. So there was a time in 30s, for example, what was more being considered important for a leadership was trait theories. And it was followed by behavioral theories in 40s and 60s. Then came the contingency theories, transformational theories. I must let you know that when it comes to these theories do not mean that they are not applicable. Theories are developed and they are being tested also. So that's what we will see. Now, otherwise, theory does not have any kind of practical implications. No meaning if it doesn't have any practical implication. Theory will not serve any purpose. Theory will remain only a theory. That's why we normally say that it is theoretical. For example, we may say leadership is theoretical. No, leadership is very much practical. Leadership is action. Leadership is what you do. That's very important. So different theories came up in 30s, 40s, 60s, 80s. And then of late, we talk about servant leadership, authentic academic leadership. All have got this significance, and we shall be taking a few of them. We shall be basically discussing the perspectives on leadership, not leadership theories as such, only the perspectives, which will let us know that what perspectives people are holding, the authors have been holding about leadership. Leadership के बारे में उनका सोच क्या था, वो कैसे सोच रहे हैं leadership के बारे में. एक आम तरीन जो सोच है वो है ट्रेट थ्योरीज, यानी सिफात, जो एक इंसान के अंदर सिफात है, ट्रेट्स हैं, गुड थिंग्स हैं, वो एक लीडर को लीडर बनाते हैं। यानी लोगों के पास वो होना जरूरी है, तब जाके वो लीडर बनेंगे। अगर उनके पास वो ट्रेट्स नहीं हो, वो अवसाफ नहीं हो, तब जाके वो लीडर नहीं बन सकते हैं। ये एक कॉन्सेप्ट था बहुत पहले पहले, ये इस पे बहुत ज्यादा जोर दिया जाता था। क्या लीडर तो वही बन सकता है जिस लीडर के पास उस किस्म के अवसाफ होंगे, वो सिफत होंगे। अगर लीडर के पास वो नहीं होंगे तो उस सूरत में प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगी। तो उस सूरत में मसला ये होगा कि अगर हम मिसाल की तरफ ऐसा करेंगे कि अब यहाँ पर यह है कि जो ट्रेट्स हैं, ट्रेट्स होना बहुत जरूरी है। तो एक लीडर सक्सेसफुल लीडर तभी बन सकता है उसके पास वो एट्रीब्यूट्स हों, वो वी कैन से कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स हों। जैसे एक वक्त एक जमाना था हाइट के बारे में, वेट के बारे में, फिजिक के बारे में, एनर्जी के बारे में, हेल्थ के बारे में, अपीयरेंस के बारे में, इवन एज के बारे में कहा जाता है कि दीज आर सम इंपॉर्टेंट physical attributes that make a leader as a successful leader, or that differentiates a leader from a non-leader. इसी तरह से लियो वी कैन सी जू एक जबरदस्त चाइनीज फिलोसोफर थे। तो उन्होंने कहा कि भाई इफेक्टिव लीडरशिप कैसे बनती है, उसके अंदर सेल्फलेसनेस हो, ऑनेस्टी हो, फेयरनेस हो, हार्ड वर्किंग हो। ये चीजें बहुत माना रखती है, लेकिन ये सब किस दायरे में आते हैं? ये सब ट्रेट्स के बारे में आते हैं कि लोगों के अंदर ये अवसाफ होने चाहिए, तब जाके वो अच्छे लीडर बन सकते हैं। सेल्फलेसनेस होना, ये सब चीजें होना बहुत जरूरी है। तो अब ये पर्सपेक्टिव आगे बढ़ता गया और ट्रेट सीरीज के ऊपर काफी रिसर्च किया गया। एक वो जमाना था कि जहां पर हंड्रेड्स ऑफ स्टडीज कंडक्ट की गई और उनके जरिए से डिफरेंट ट्रेट्स ऑफ इफेक्टिव लीडर्स वर आइडेंटिफाइड। ये हो सकता है, ये हो सकता है, ये हो सकता है, ये सब लीड काफी बहुत सारी ट्रेट्स आइडेंटिफाई किए गए। फिर उसके बाद ऐसा लगा कि 1940s में जो कुछ मेजर रिव्यूज हो गए इन ट्रेड्स के ऊपर, तो फिर पता चला कि भाई कोई कंसिस्टेंसी नहीं है जहां तक इफेक्टिव ट्रेड्स की मतलब बात है। यानी यह है कि मुख्तलिफ ममालिक में, मुख्तलिफ मुल्कों में मुख्तलिफ किस्म के लोगों ने, स्कॉलर्स ने, ऑथर्स ने इस पे काम किया। तो उन्होंने अपने अपने हिसाब से ट्रेड्स कहे कि भाई ये ट्रेड जरूरी है, ये ट्रेड इफेक्टिव लीडरशिप के लिए जरूरी है। तो अपने हिसाब से उन्होंने कहना शुरू कर दिया, लिखना शुरू कर दिया। तो इसका मतलब है कि दे डिड नॉट कन्वर्ज ऑन अ फ्यू वी कैन से ट्रेड्स। तो इस लिहाज से वो एक भी जमाना था कि जब लोग ट्रेड्स को मुखालफत करने लगे, कहने लगे कि ये मुमकिन नहीं है, ट्रेड्स के जरिए से हम पहचान नहीं पाएंगे कि इफेक्टिव लीडर्स कौन है, क्या है, क्योंकि कंसिस्टेंसी नहीं थी। आर यू फॉलोइंग मी? मेरी बात समझते हो आप?
यस सर।
यस सर।
हाँ, ओके। तो इस तरह से क्या हुआ कि ट्रेड्स के बारे में कहा गया कि ट्रेड जरूरी नहीं है, क्योंकि कंसिस्टेंसी नहीं थी। अब फिर उसके बाद और एक जमाना आ गया जो अब हम कह रहे हैं कि पिछले 30-40 साल से, 20-30 साल से फिर एक रिसर्च जो चल रहा है, इसी ऊपर घूम रहा है कि दैट वी रिक्वायर रीडर्स टू हैव सम वी कैन से ट्रेड्स। फॉर एग्जांपल दे मस्ट हैव द स्किल्स, इन स्किल्स में बहुत कुछ आएगा, नॉलेज, एप्टीट्यूड्स, ये बहुत जरूरी है। Recognition of traits among effective leaders resurface of late, and they conclude that skills are important, knowledge is important, aptitude is important, all these are important things. अब उसके बाद चूंकि ये जमाना फिर चेंज होता गया, ट्रेड्स को नए सिरे से पढ़ना शुरू कर दिया गया, तो फिर कुछ लोगों ने कहा कि भाई देयर आर सम इंपॉर्टेंट कॉम्पिटेंसीज फॉर लीडर्स। आप भी ध्यान से देखिएगा, हम ये कहते हैं कि उसकी पर्सनैलिटी कैसी है। अब पर्सनैलिटी का मतलब ये नहीं कि कितना स्मार्ट है, कितना स्मार्ट नहीं है, क्या हाइट है, क्या एज है, ये चीजें नहीं है, बल्कि पर्सनालिटी का यहाँ मतलब यह है कि वो कितना एक्सट्रोवर्ट है, कॉन्शियसनेस क्या है। बाद में मैं थोड़ा सा इसको मजीद वजाहत करूंगा। इसी तरह से उसका सेल्फ कॉन्सेप्ट, ये भी एक अहम तरीन कॉम्पिटेंसी है इन ए लीडर। पॉजिटिव सेल्फ इवेल्युएशन, हाई एस्टीम, ड्राइव कितना है, इनर मोटिवेशन कितनी है उसके अंदर। लोगों के अंदर इनर मोटिवेशन होना बहुत जरूरी है कि हमें ये काम करना है और उसके लिए उनको शक्ति चाहिए फ्रॉम विद इन, और अगर वो शक्ति उनको नहीं मिल रही है, they can never be considered to be, or they can never turn out to be successful leaders. This is the most important competency that a leader can hold: drive, inner motivation to pursue goals, integrity, और कितना ही जरूरी है, man of principles, truthfulness, consistency in words and actions. इसी तरह से फिर लीडरशिप मोटिवेशन की बात जो आ रही है, high need for socialized power to achieve organizational goals, understand external environment, aid intuitive decision making, cognitive principal intelligence, above average cognitive ability, able to solve real world problems, यानी उसके अंदर वो दिमाग, वो इंटेलिजेंस होना बहुत जरूरी है। अब उसके बाद और एक अहम तरीन जो ट्रेड बताया गया है या कॉम्पिटेंसी है वो इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस है। इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस, अब इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस में क्या है, ये एक अलग वजाहत खुद एक जबरदस्त टॉपिक है जिसके ऊपर बात की जा सकती है मोर देन 1 hour और 2 hours। अब ये इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस बहुत जरूरी है लीडर्स के लिए, परसीविंग, सिमुलेटिंग, अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड रेगुलेटिंग इमोशंस, उनको रेगुलेट करना, इमोशंस को रेगुलेट करना उनके लिए बहुत ही अहम और बहुत ही जरूरी है। अब ये वो वक्त था, अब लोगों के अंदर मुख्तलिफ जो पर्सनैलिटी ट्रेट्स थे उनको क्लब किया गया है, उनको क्लब किया गया है, जिसको हम कहते हैं कि दे हैव बीन ऑर्गेनाइज्ड इनटू 5 वेरियस डायमेंशंस। क्योंकि जैसे मैंने कहा कि काफी इनकंसिस्टेंसी थी, जो लोग जिस किस्म के ट्रेट्स लेके आ रहे थे लीडर्स के बारे में वो मुख्तलिफ थे, हर एक अपने अपने हिसाब से कह रहा है कि ये ट्रेड जरूरी है, वो ट्रेड जरूरी है। तो अब इन तमाम को इकट्ठा करके 5 जो मेजर जिसको हम कहते हैं बिग 5 पर्सनालिटी फ्रेमवर्क, उसके अंदर उनको डाला गया है, जैसे एक्स्ट्रावर्शन, कॉन्शियसनेस, ओपननेस टू एक्सपीरियंस, ये सब चीजें, एंड इमोशनल स्टेबिलिटी, एग्रीएबलनेस। क्यों? रिसर्च ये बताता है कि अगर एक इंसान के अंदर एक्स्ट्रावर्शन है, such a person would be as a leader extrovert, he would be outgoing, energetic and also very assertive. Likewise, when it comes to conscientiousness as a personality trait, again researchers indicated that it reflects one's responsibility, order, discipline, organization, which again very essential, very important for a leader to be a successful one. एक तो ये extrovert होना चाहिए, बात करना चाहिए, communicate करना चाहिए, इनिशिएटिव लेना चाहिए, और उसके साथ साथ उसके अंदर कॉन्फिडेंस होनी चाहिए, डिपेंडेबल होना चाहिए, फेयर होना चाहिए, ओपननेस टू एक्सपीरियंस। जो और एक ट्रेट बताया गया पर्सनालिटी ट्रेट में, उसमें है ओपननेस टू एक्सपीरियंस। लीडर्स आर वेरी क्रिएटिव, दे आर क्यूरियस एंड दे आर ओपन टू न्यू आइडियाज। जैसे मैंने कहा कि दैट दे डू नॉट get trapped to the past practices, they are always open to new idea। भाई नया बताओ कुछ, ये चीज है, ये प्रॉब्लम है, ये समस्या है, ये इशू है, इस इशू को कैसे हल किया जाएगा, क्या करना चाहिए इस इशू को हल करने के लिए। इमोशनल स्टेबिलिटी की बात आ रही है। इमोशनली स्टेबल लीडर्स दे मैनेज स्ट्रेस वेल एंड स्टे काम अंडर प्रेशर। ये भी एक अहम चीज है कि एक इमोशनल जो हमारे लीडर हों, या जो हम एज लीडर हम एक्ट करें, या हमें लीडरशिप पोजीशन मिली, हमको काफी काम रहना बहुत जरूरी है, स्पेशली टॉलरेंट रहना बहुत जरूरी है। ऐसे नहीं हो सकता है कि दैट इन एनी केस वी कुड बी इंटॉलरेंट कि टॉलरेंस लेवल कम होगी। तो ये सब चीजें माना रखती हैं और ये सब चीजें बहुत असर डालती है एक इंसान के लीडरशिप स्टाइल में। अगर वो इमोशनली स्टेबल नहीं है, that will be a huge problem for a person to be a good leader. Agreeableness, agreeable leaders are cooperative, compassionate। तो बात करने की यह है कि ये सब जो है मुख्तलिफ किस्म के ट्रेट्स बताए गए, और इन ट्रेट्स की वजह से हम ये कह सकते हैं कि एक लीडर डिफरेंट है नॉन लीडर से। अब इसमें कुछ लिमिटेशंस भी हैं जो यहाँ पर हमें दिखती है इस स्लाइड में। जैसे हम कहते हैं इट इम्प्लाइज यूनिवर्सल अप्रोच, कि अगर हमें लगा कि फलां जगह का लीडर है, फलां जगह में लीडर्स की जो सक्सेस है वो बिकॉज ऑफ पर्सनालिटी ट्रेट्स हैं, तो ये जरूरी है किसी भी खास ट्रेट की वजह से। हम ये कह सकते हैं कि यूनिवर्सल नहीं है, इट वेरीज। पर्सनालिटी ट्रेट्स नंबर 1 वेरी, एंड देन आल्सो द कॉन्टेक्स्ट वेरीज। मिसाल के तौर पर किसी जगह एक लीडर को बड़ा असर्टिव रहना है, किसी जगह पे उसके असर्टिव जरूरी रहना नहीं है। तो मतलब ये हुआ कि जो हम ये कहते हैं कि ये कम खास ट्रेट्स हैं, ये बहुत जरूरी है, ये हर जगह काम नहीं करेंगे। इसी तरह से हम ये कहते हैं कि कॉम्पिटेंसी रेफर टू लीडरशिप पोटेंशियल। अब अगर किसी इंसान के पास कॉम्पिटेंसी है, कॉम्पिटेंसी का मतलब ये नहीं है कि वो इफेक्टिव लीडर होगा। मतलब ये बात सही है कि कुछ ऐसे टीचर्स हमारी डिपार्टमेंट्स में होंगे, यूनिवर्सिटीज में होंगे, कॉलेजेस में होंगे, जो बहुत जबरदस्त पढ़ते हैं, उनकी लिखाई पढ़ाई बहुत जबरदस्त हो सकती है, लेकिन यह है कि वो क्लास ही नहीं ले, क्लास जाना ही बंद कर दें, या जाएंगे they will not give their best। अल्टीमेट तो ये है ना कि you give your best। अब आपके पास पोटेंशियल है, आपने बहुत रिसर्च किया है, आपके बहुत रिसर्च साइटेशंस हैं, रिसर्च आर्टिकल्स हैं, पेपर्स हैं, बुक्स हैं, ऑल दैट है। So you have in a way kind of a reasonable competencies to be a good teacher. But possibility is that you might not be using those competencies in the classroom. So naturally, a person who is dubbed to be a leader might have all those competencies to be a good leader, but the point is that he is not making use of those particular competencies. That's very much possible, like a teacher can do it. So therefore, what is essential and important is that we have to look at the performance. That matters a lot. Whether इस लीडर के जो ट्रेट्स हैं जिसकी वजह से ये बहुत अच्छा लीडर है, उसके असरात क्या पड़ रहे हैं, जमीनी हकायक क्या बताते हैं, लोगों के ऊपर उसके क्या असरात पड़ते हैं, क्या उसके जो एम्प्लॉयज हैं वो खुश हैं, संतुष्ट हैं, खुश हैं, वो काम करना चाहते हैं उसके अंदर, क्या वो इंस्पायर हो रहे हैं उसकी कंट्रीब्यूशन से या नहीं हो रहे हैं. तो अगर वो नहीं हो रहा है तो जाहिर सी बात है कि फिर उसका ये इतना जबरदस्त कॉम्पिटेंस और कॉम्पिटेंसीज होना कोई माना नहीं रखता है. There's of no use. A person is only holding competencies but is not there to help his, we can say, subordinates to grow and prosper in a given organization, or they're not happy with. अब मसला ये हुआ, जैसे हमने कहा कि ट्रेड थ्योरीज का कॉन्सेप्ट था कि लोगों के अंदर ट्रेड्स होना बहुत जरूरी है. इसका दूसरा माने क्या हुआ, क्या आप मुझे बता सकते हो? व्हाट कैन बी द अदर मीनिंग? आर यू देयर प्लीज?
सर
आई एम सेइंग दैट अब जो ट्रेड कॉन्सेप्ट आया है, जो कॉम्पिटेंसी मॉडल की बात आ रही है, एक तो उनके अंदर कुछ लिमिटेशंस भी हैं. दूसरा ये हुआ कि जब हम कॉम्पिटेंसी की बात कर रहे हैं, इसका मतलब है कि जिन लोगों के पास ये कॉम्पिटेंसीज हैं वो लीडर बन सकते हैं. अब उसका मतलब क्या हुआ फिर? व्हाट इज द अदर मीनिंग ऑफ इट देन? यानी जिन लोगों के पास वो कॉम्पिटेंसीज हैं वही सिर्फ लीडर बन सकते हैं और कोई लीडर नहीं बन सकता है. जाहिर सी बात है. इसका मतलब यह है कि लीडर्स हैव टू हैव नेसेसरली व्हाट? दे हैव टू हैव दोज पर्टिकुलर competencies,
necessary capacity
हाँ,
to read the signs of the time and be resilient to solve the situations.
हाँ, मेरा कहने के मतलब ये हुआ कि फिर it does not leave any scope for leadership development programs. If we say that people ought to have some given competencies, then only they can become leaders, and therefore those who won't have those competencies cannot become the leaders. Simple as that.
No, they can
Therefore,
also
yes.
they can also assess what are the competencies of the others in the team and make use of the available resources, whether the human resources, other resources, so that they can optimize the resources for the purpose.
It's therefore means, what I'm basically trying to convey is that if we only rely upon trade perspective when it comes to leadership, that would simply mean that in case are hell-bent at only identifying the traits in the people and they only can become the leaders, then we have a very narrow understanding of leadership as such. That basically is the point. The point actually is that you might have people having the traits, as I said, but not necessarily making use of them, number one. Number two is that we will not have any scope for the leadership development programs if we are only confining leadership to the traits of the people, because those traits will be with few people in a given group, in a given organization, and they only can emerge as leaders, or in a given, we can say, country or a place. So what is essential is that in modern times, we more focus on developmental programs, leadership development programs. That leadership is not only to do with the traits, but it is to do with the behavior. It is to do with the behavior. That researchers in the late 40s and through 60s, they searched for the uniqueness, if any, in the way effective leaders behave. Now we are not confining our perspective to only the leaders' traits. We are now looking at what are some important and unique kinds of behaviors leaders have which make them successful leaders. So therefore, emulating the behavior. What is the cause of those behaviors? We are not discussing that. Possibility is that cause of those behaviors could be the traits lying in the people. But since it is very difficult to identify those traits, we shall straight away move on to what is called the behaviors of people. So if we see that people have become very successful leaders, why they have become? Because of behavior. What was that peculiar behavior? What is that peculiar behavior? If suppose they are successful as leaders. Therefore, the line of researchers got a little bit changed and transformed into looking at the behavior perspective of the leaders. Researchers therefore attempted to correlate leader behavior, modes, and styles to subordinates' performance. That's what I said in the previous slide also, that ultimately we are concerned with the satisfaction level of the employees or the subordinates. They are concerned with their performance. So whatever kind of a style a leader has, for instance, and if it does not have any impact on the performance and satisfaction of the employees, and likewise, whatever kind of traits a leader has, but that those traits or those leaders do not have any impact on the performance and satisfaction of the subordinates, then we won't reach anywhere. We have to basically look into how the traits are related to the satisfaction and performance, how the behavior of leaders are related to the performance and satisfaction. Because the ultimate goal of a leader is to make the institution that he belongs to grow, prosper, develop. And how is that possible to develop? Superior performance is expected. There is a superior experience from the subordinates, from the people, from the employees of the institution concerned. And how is that possible? We say that that is possible in one way or the other when employees are satisfied, they're motivated. That is what is possible to lead to superior performance or good performance or expected line of performance. And that is what can make the institutions grow, develop, and prosper. So it's a kind of a vicious circle, and it's a kind of a situation where we have to have the leaders. They shall be focusing on the performance and the satisfaction of their employees. So this perspective entails that we look at the behavior of. So in this context, some studies were conducted. For example, Levin did it, Michigan University did it, Ohio State University did it. Concurrently, especially the Michigan University and the Ohio State University, they concurrently conducted research on the leadership behaviors, just to identify what different kinds of behaviors leaders have and which make them successful leaders. Now, as far as Curtin Levin's leadership style is concerned, he's talking about three important styles of leaders: authoritarian, democratic, and laissez-faire kind of a leader. And why he says that when it comes to the autocratic, is a leader who is absolutely strict, control-centric, and takes, in many of the cases, decisions unilaterally. Then we have a democratic one, which is very contrary to the authoritarian one, where here a person is very democratic, takes everybody on board, and it does foster what is called a collaboration, followership. And we say in this particular context, again, the discretionary influence does lie with the leader, but we can say the authority lies with him, but followers have got a discretionary influence to carry on, to do the various kinds of activities. So in that context, democratic leadership is more concerned with enhancing the level of satisfaction and productivity among the workers, the employees. Then is a laissez-faire. Laissez-faire is little more delegative kind of a leadership style, where everything is left with to the subordinates, which is why we say that it's an abdication of authority, which leads ultimately to a huge chaos and confusion. Now, as I talked about, two important theories conducted by two important research conducted by two important universities, Ohio State University and the Michigan University. Ohio State University conducted research in 1945, and they had almost 1,000 dimensions to locate behavioral characteristics of leaders. So just to see that what is the unique behavior of leaders which makes them as successful leaders. What they found was initiating structure as one of the important dimensions of these 1,000 dimensions. Consideration was another dimension. So they finally clubbed into this. They boiled down onto two important structures. One talking about initiating structure, the other one is as consideration. Now, what is basically initiating structure? The extent to which leader is likely to define and structure his own role, which is very vital and important. If a leader does not know his own role, why he is a leader, why he is the head, why he is discharging such kind of a responsibility, what is the role that he is being expected to play? If he does not know that, he won't be able in any case to identify the roles of his subordinates. Very difficult, because he does not know his own. So naturally, when it comes to initiating structure, the important thing is that leaders are there to initiate the structure. They are there to understand their personal roles and responsibilities, and then also the roles and responsibilities of these followers and subordinates. Consideration, unlike initiating structure, is more concerned with person's job relationships, which are characterized by mutual trust, respect for employees' ideas, regard for employees' feelings. And in most of the cases, when academic leaders, maybe be the principals, the deans, the heads of the departments, the vice chancellors of the universities, they turn out to be more, we can say, bureaucratic the moment they hold some position in a given organization, which is pretty problematic. So instead of acting collegial or creating a collegial system in their organizations, in a good number of cases, you might have also probably witnessed it, that principals, deans, heads, or the directors, or in for the matter, the university vice chancellors, they turn out to be absolute bureaucrats. They wear a very different kind of a look the moment they hold the position. Here, the point is that when it comes to a leader, two things are very essential: initiating structure, the other one is consideration. This is a study that was conducted. These two dimensions basically highlight effective leaders, balanced task oriented and balanced people oriented behaviors. ये भी जरूरी है कि आपको इनिशिएट करना है स्ट्रक्चर, लोगों को पता चलना चाहिए हमें क्या करना है, स्ट्रक्चर को चेंज करना है, नए से उसको बताना है कि ये चीजें आपको करनी, वो चीजें करनी है. उससे काफी दिक्कत भी आएगी, उससे लोग परेशान भी हो सकते हैं, उससे लोग नफरत भी करना शुरू कर देंगे. लेकिन मसला यह है कि ये बहुत जरूरी है, इसके बगैर काम नहीं हो सकता है. अब दूसरा यह है कि सिर्फ वी शुड नॉट बैंक अपॉन दिस, वी शुड नॉट सिक्योर एंड फोकस all our energy on initiating structure alone, without looking at the consideration aspect of this study and the consideration aspect of role as a leader. अब इसलिए कहा जाता है कि that balancing these roles is all the more necessary to be task oriented and also to be people oriented. इसी के साथ साथ में मिशिगन यूनिवर्सिटी में भी कंकरेंटली यही रिसर्च हुआ. तो अब उन्होंने क्या देखा, उन्होंने भी दो डायमेंशंस निकाले. एक है एम्प्लॉय ओरिएंटेड लीडर, द अदर वन इज production oriented leader. It is akin to the previous one, initiating structure and consideration. Like initiating structure is more concerned with production oriented leaders, while as the other one is tilted and concerned with its consideration to employee oriented leaders. So we in nutshell say that when it comes to leadership, two important perspectives have been given by these two, I can say, research are the employee oriented leader and a production oriented leader. Very essential and very important. Now, before we move on, I will discuss something more about it. I would like you people to please do this exercise on initiating structure and what is called a consideration. Is it visible to you, please?
Yes, sir.
All the items are visible?
No.
No, sir. No,
It is
sir.
not
No.
clear. It is not clear, sir.
Some of you might be just be able to visualize probably properly, may not be all. So what shall I do is that I will just copy it and I will
You can make
send it as a WhatsApp to any one of you. Or if the WhatsApp group is working, the same one that I have actually joined right now.
Sir, can you put your slide on slide mode?
Is it visible now? No.
Not, sir. No, sir. Not properly.
Yeah, I tried this slideshow.
Text is not visible.
Huh? From Courage.
The slide
Is it?
थोड़ा सा बड़ा हो जाएगा, sir.
Is it?
No, sir.
Now if I do it, look at it. Is it visible now?
छोटा हो गया सर ज्यादा.
No, sir.
क्या हो गया?
छोटा हो गया सर, छोटा हो गया.
अच्छा, छोटा हो गया.
तो स्लाइड मोड में डाल दीजिएगा सर, पीपीटी को शायद थोड़ा बड़ा बनेगा.
मैंने तो वर्क कर दिया इसको, ये तो पता नहीं है फिर क्यों नहीं आ रहा है स्लाइड मोड में. फ्रॉम करंट स्लाइड. It's not showing, no?
No, sir.
Could it be possible that you can just send me this WhatsApp message on my mobile number 1941? Yes, please. Anybody who can share the WhatsApp number or send me a message on WhatsApp, and so that I will just share it on WhatsApp itself. Will that be fine?
Sir, no.
Not on WhatsApp?
But in WhatsApp, sir, we have a group.
Yeah, that's what I'm
सर
saying.
ग्रुप में भेज दीजिए, ग्रुप में जहाँ से ये सारा सिस्टम
I don't have the. I'm not the member of that group in any way. Any person can just send me a message on 941
Sir, 941. Sir, 941.
942
942.
6408.
640. Sir.
941 942 6408.
सर ग्रुप में हम भी नहीं भेज सकते, सिर्फ एडमिन्स भेज सकते हैं।
अच्छा, उसमें वही वर्ष तो इसमें नहीं आ सकते हैं ना?
ये फिर भी सबको नहीं मिलेगा, जिसके पास नंबर है सिर्फ वो ले सकता है।
Good afternoon, sir. So sorry for intervening in between.
Yes,
Actually, sir, मैंने इसको zoom in करके देखा है, तो आपके टेक्स्ट विजिबल हैं। अगर हम स्क्रीन को zoom in कर रहे हैं, तो
अच्छा।
आपके जो टेक्स्ट हैं वो विजिबल हैं, सर।
अच्छा, तो फिर तो अब तो आना चाहिए फिर ना? Is it now visible?
जी सर, हम zoom in कर रहे हैं अपनी तरफ से स्क्रीन को, शेयर्ड स्क्रीन को, तो तब हम उसको रीड ऑन कर पा रहे हैं, सर।
अच्छा।
धुंधला आ रहा मैम फिर भी।
सर आई एम सो सॉरी, मतलब मेरे को विजिबल है। इट कुड बी वो एक आई साइट वाला इशू हो सकता है। आई एम सो सॉरी, बट मुझे विजिबल है, सर।
इस वक्त मत जाया जा सकता है कि कहीं पर कि इंसान
जी, हो सकता है,
सर फर्स्ट टाइम हमने बोला था कि
अब मैंने इनको भेजा है 941 अनुराग शर्मा जी को
विजिबल है।
अच्छा, मैंने इनको भेजा है, जिन्होंने मुझे नंबर भेजा था, डॉक्टर अनुराग शर्मा जी को, और मुझे लग रहा है कि दैट ही वुड बी एबल टू जस्ट शेयर इट इंस्टेंटली. विल ही बी एबल टू?
If he is admin, he can share.
Who is the admin right now? Anybody, you can call him and you can just share it. Last time I did share it on this and it was visible to the. अब उसमें मैंने दो हिस्से कर दिए थे इसको.
I am trying to send you some messages.
Anybody is just sending me a message? It should not. Is it okay? Is it not visible right now?
Very faint.
What about this?
जो सर मैंने शेयर किया है आपको, आप ग्रुप में डाल दीजिए.
Okay.
किसको आपने किया?
सर जो होस्ट है प्रवीण जोशी सर.
डॉक्टर अनुराग शर्मा जी को मैंने भेजा.
हाँ सर मुझे मिल गया है. डॉक्टर प्रवीण जोशी होस्ट हैं, उनको मैंने शेयर कर दिया है.
Okay. So it will reach to you.
I am sending, sir. I am sending.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Fine.
Thank you.
So a bit of tidbits I would like to share with you on this. This is a kind of a question that will let you know whether you are high on initiating structure or you are low on initiating structure, and likewise you are high on consideration or low on consideration. Now it has been shared with all of you. Hopefully they have received it now.
Send to all. Please.
Fine. What you have to do simply is to have a pen and we can see paper with you. And there are some 20 items given, 1 to 20, and some basic instructions are given on top. This is a questionnaire pertaining to initiating structure and consideration. What you have to do is simply to go through each and every item, and against each item, you have to give a response. Responses have to be given on the basis of 1, never, 2 seldom, 3 occasionally, 4 often, and 5 always. So you will have to put a number against each item as you deem fit, as you deem fit. The way we are basically filling up the questionnaires. Am I right? Are you getting me? Please. Yes. Hope you are doing the exercise, no? Are you done with the exercise? Please, are you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now
Yes,
you are
Are you
audible.
done with
yes,
the
sir.
exercise?
Yes, sir.
Are you done with the exercise?
Yes, sir. Done, sir.
Yes, done, sir.
Okay, there are 3 items, 16, 19, and 20. Did you do it? You must have given a score to them. But there is an arbitrary score of 6 or value of 6. The score that you have given to 16th item, 19th, and 20th, you'll have to deduct that score from 6. So if suppose you have given to 16 item score 4, you have to deduct this 4 from 6. 6 is an arbitrary number. It's given in the instructions as well. So shall be the case with 19th item and 20th. These are bold items. You'll have to just deduct the score that you have given to these items from 6. Then you will get the score. Now from 1 to 10 is initiating structure. From 11 to 20, it is consideration. The more the score you have, for example, for initiating structure, that means you are more tilted towards initiating structure. You are more task-oriented, production-oriented, work-oriented. If it is low and the other is high, that is, then it means that you are more people-oriented. So what is important is that you ought to have a kind of a balance between being production-oriented and what we call as the production and people-oriented. So there has to be a difference. So it all depends upon the kind of a nature that you have and where you stand. And in order to be a successful leader, what the studies also indicate is that we have to have a balance. We have to strike a balance between being initiating structure or production-oriented and the public and the people-oriented. Both these are important features in a human being that should not be confined and skewed to one side at the cost of the other. This is what exactly it basically conveys. Now, the point that we were discussing was about initiating structure and consideration. There are studies that have been, I can say, conducted on both the, I can say, dimensions. Yes. So the point is basically when it comes to initiating structure and consideration, there were some leadership experts, they would disbelieve these. There is somebody whose mic is on.
Dinesh ji, please switch off your mic.
So leadership experts basically raise some doubt and disbelief on whether the initiating structure and consideration, these dimensions have got any practical value or not. So several studies were conducted, 103 studies, which were, I can say, kind of worked out in one of the meta-analysis. And it was found that consideration as well as initiating structure have got some impact on the overall functioning of an organization, be it the leadership effectiveness, employee motivation, and so on and so forth. So initiating structure and consideration was found to have an impact on the overall functioning of an organization through a different mechanism. Now look, when it comes to the initiating structure and consideration, there can be a kind of a confusion on what should a leader use. Should he use initiating structure, or should he be more people-oriented, that is consideration, or he should be more task-oriented? In that context, research indicates that we have to look at the readiness of the employees. Readiness of the employees. What does readiness mean? Readiness means a person's ability and willingness. Two things are very important. One is the ability to, the other one is what is called a willingness. In this context, this readiness, it varies. You may have some people who are unable and they are unwilling. People who might be unable but they will be willing. There may be people able but unwilling. So could be the case where we have got the people who are able and who are also willing. Now, in this context, a leader has a very different role to play. But that's why it's called the life cycle theory of leadership, situational leadership. Readiness has been divided into 3: high, moderate, and low. When it comes to R1, low, that means a subordinate is both unwilling and he is also unable. What should a leader do? In the context of initiating structure and consideration, What should a leader do? He should tell, because the person, the subordinate of the leader, is not willing to do, and he is also not able. You have to direct his efforts. You have to initiate structure. You have to tell him the role of the person. And then you have to also be careful about not being considerate. We cannot here use a trick of being people oriented or people orientated, because the employee is unable and he is not so unwilling. You have to have you have to be very strict with that kind of person. Then when it comes to R2, where a person is unable, but at least one thing is there, that he is willing, you motivate him further. You again have to be high on defining his role. What should he do? How should he do? Pass on instructions. But simultaneously, you have to be considerate with this kind of a guy, because he is willing, he is forthcoming, he wants to contribute. And then we may have a third kind of a possibility of readiness, where a person is able, but he is unwilling. Again, what is essential is that consideration is very important. You need not to give him instructions, because he is able. He has an ability. You only need, for example, in our cases also as parents, they have got children. Some of the children, for example, or those, or our students, for instance, they are able, but they are not pushing hard. They are just kind of easygoing kind of students. If you try to push them, if you try to motivate them, basically, there is every possibility that they will do wonders. So you have the workers, you have the subordinates, you have the people working in your organization who are able, but they are unwilling. What you are supposed to do is that not to instruct them, but to go on, I can say, persuade them, motivate them, inspire them. Then we have a fourth category of readiness, where we have people who are high in both ability as well as willingness to do. Then in that case, we need not to be instructing them, we need not to showing persuasion or persuade them, only because they already have these kinds of guts with them. They will carry on. Now, the overall perspective before we move on to NAP 2020 is that trade theories indicate that we have to select the most appropriate persons who will have the genes that they can make them successful leaders. While the behavioral perspective is a different one. Perspective behavior indicators that we should train people, in spite of the fact that they might not be possessing the traits as to be considered good for successful leaders, but we can have and we can arrange leadership programs. For example, this is a kind of a program that we are in, National Education Policy 2020 Sensitization and Orientation Program. What is this basically all about? It's all about that we should have the exposure to our budding scholars, budding teachers, or in the infancy of their careers as teachers, for the leadership roles that they have to take up next time. So in that context, this is going to be towards the right direction. At this point of time, we are trying to basically imbibe those kinds of exposures and understanding in our budding scholars and budding teachers, that they can become successful leaders of tomorrow. So therefore, I'm saying that these leadership programs are only a reason because there is a perspective called a behavioral perspective of leadership, which indicates that leaders can be made. Leaders are not necessarily born, which is the case with the trait model. So and so forth. Now, have a look on this national education policy. As I said also in the beginning, that the problem with our leaders is that in most of the cases, they are accidental leaders. They don't have the virtues. They don't have the exposure. They don't have the proper understanding of being the leaders. Why? Because they have taken up the reins only because of some parameters where there is hardly any consideration for a person being exposed to leadership. Exposure to leadership, having a know-how of leadership. And in that context, it is becoming more and increasingly important that we expose our budding scholars to leadership areas, to let them know that how you can become as successful leaders, how you have to run the affairs of your institutions once you take over as leaders, as head of the departments, of the deans, or the directors, or the vice chancellors, or the principals, or as coordinators. All this. Now, look, as far as 2020, NAP 2020 is concerned, we know that there are recommendations, and especially the ones transforming the HEI's educational system, ecosystem, introduction of autonomy, multidisciplinary system, multiple entry, exit, academic banks of credit. Again, as I said, that age-old practices will not work. Budding scholars, today's, we can say, faculty members who have just begun their careers, especially, they need to be exposed to the kind of leadership that they should be able to deal with when it comes to, devising, when it comes to discharging their leadership roles. Now, who are academic leaders? Someone in a position to identify the need to change, so on and so forth, like we have got the leaders. But an important aspect is what is special about these academic leaders. You know that academic leadership is involving, guiding, influencing members of an academic institution, such as faculty, staff, students, to achieve educational goals and advance the institution's mission. This form of leadership basically emphasizes fostering an environment of learning, research, and personal development. As I said in the beginning also, when it comes to the students and when it comes to the education institutions, we say that students and the education institutions run by teachers. Teachers are actually the nation builders. They build the nation. They are the ones who give the exposure to students, who teach students. It involves a lot of things. It is all encompassing. Teaching is not just confined to some academic grades a student will be able to achieve through somebody's teaching. It's basically concerned with the overall personality development of the student. That is the kind of a role we teachers have. And as a result of that, if we are able to transform the mindsets, mold the behaviors towards good of the students, that is a boon. That is good for the overall society as such. So we have that as an important academic role and a leadership role to play. So we are bound to play that kind of a role in order to make our students, not as parasites, not as a liability, but as an asset for the society in general. Now have a look on this. That is it that academic leadership is therefore different from the traditional leadership? We know it for sure that when it comes to the bureaucratic kinds of organizations, the other government-run organizations, there is a control kind of a mechanism that's being displayed by the leaders. They have a control-centric kind of a, orientation, which is quite, impossible in an educational system, in a university or in a college. But what we see that a number of, I can say, these heads of the departments, we have witnessed it. I have witnessed it personally. You might have also witnessed it. A good number of principals, heads of the departments, deans, they turn out to be absolute bureaucratic when they sit on the chair. A collegial system, which is otherwise required in educational institutions, seems in many cases conspicuously missing and absent, which is what is required, especially given the implementation of National Education Policy 2020. There are lots of things which are very new and where you cannot, hold back to those past practices. And in fact, we have to strengthen the departmental, we can say, committees, departmental, we can say, different committees based on the relationship that we are able to forge with our faculty members. That demands actually a very collegial, relationship-based kind of a culture that needs to be created. Now, as I said, that when it comes to two important dimensions of the studies that have been conducted in Michigan and the Ohio State, they talk about the initiating structure and consideration. It all depends upon the kind of a leader you are, the kind of the understanding you have as a leader, that what kind of a role is required to be played in this kind of a situation that I'm held up in. So if you have got people, for example, who are teachers, they're not taking classes regularly, or they are not following the given, we can say, instructions for the reason that they are showing some kind of a high-handedness or all that. So in that case, it all depends upon the kind of leader you are. You are able to understand and grasp it and accordingly follow which particular style is more suitable in the given context. Though we cannot generalize, we have to be specific on that account. So, but in nutshell, what is important and essential is that as the academic institution leaders or academic leaders, ours has by and large a role of a collegial, I can say, strengthening collegial system rather than a control system in our universities or in our colleges. Now, I have to skip some of the slides, reason simply being that we are short of time. I would just simply like to throw light a bit on the competencies of effective leadership. Or before that, I would like to, ask you if you've got any questions or clarifications to seek from me. I'm open for that, or else I will continue with this session, please. I just want to, yes, I can stop here, and I just give a chance to you to make us seek some clarifications from me, enter into a kind of a discussion with me, or else if you want, I will continue with the session, please.
Sir, I have a question. Sir, I have a question for you. Please,
Please.
yeah, can I ask?
Yes, please.
Myself, Dr. Anurag Sharma from Government Degree Kanughati Kotdwar. Sir, you are talking about two type of leader, like people oriented and initiative oriented, production oriented, and give one task. It is related to.
You're not audible, please.
Can I am audible? Can I
Yeah,
audible?
you are not. Yeah, now you are. Yes, you are now.
Okay,
Please.
okay, sir, you're talking about two type of case, like
Again, not visit.
uh, sir, this time.
Sarmaji, please hold on. Navdeep
Yes.
Sarmaji, Navdeep Semwal ji, please. Navdeep Semwal.
Yeah, the voice. He was not audible. Please, can you repeat the question?
Sir, can I?
Yes. You are audible this time, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, you are talking about two type of leadership theory, like people oriented and production oriented, initiative oriented. Okay.
Yes, please. Yes. Yes, not audible again.
There is a network issues, I think, sir.
Yeah, probably there is some network issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, in case I could understand whatever little was audible in between, I could say, what I'm trying to convey is that I didn't say that these are actually the theories. These are two important styles that have been identified by two concurrently conducted researches at Michigan as well as at the Ohio State University. And they have come up with this people-oriented and production-oriented kind of the leadership styles of the leaders. The idea basically is that the striking a balance between the two, striking a balance. Then in context to that, we talked about, for example, we talked about that when it comes to initiating structure, when should you initiate a structure, when should you be considerate, and there are different kinds of we can say situations possible. As I said that while we have got a person who is completely unable and is also unwilling, then in another case we see that a person is able but he is unwilling. Another case we may have a person is unable but he is willing. Then a case where we have got a person who is able as well as willing. In all these different kinds of scenarios, it's the leader who has to first of all identify which particular situation I am held up with, which kind of an employee is doing what is his stance, is he able and he is unwilling, or he is unable but he is willing. So this is a kind of a kind of a dose or a kind of a lesson or kind of a information that should lie basically with the leader in order to run the affairs of his organization properly. Since I could not understand the question properly, I don't know whether I have been able to respond to the question as he wanted to ask it, or if yes, he can still ask it. We've got still time.
Is there any question from anyone? No.
Sir, this time voice is clear?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's working. Yeah, this time, what happens is once you're trying to pose a question.
Sir, I'm talking about people-oriented and initiative-oriented theory.
Yes.
And you give the exercise, it has 20 questions, first 10 and 11 to 20.
Yes.
So, how to define score-wise? It is people-oriented leader or initiative-oriented people?
Scores are given there.
Okay.
If you go back to the same questionnaire, and you will see that there is a score also given.
Sir, if first 10 questions score is higher than last 10 questions,
Yeah, that means that a person is more production oriented.
prediction only. Okay, okay,
Yes.
okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, it is like that only.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any more questions, please, or clarifications, please?
No one is ready.
Uh,
Junice,
May I ask? Yes, sir.
yes, yes, yes.
May I ask a question?
Yes, please.
This is Pranjal Chakraborty, Assistant Professor Commerce, Rani Dhanya Kumari College, Jiaganj of West Bengal. Sir, you are talking about the initiative-oriented leadership, but sometimes it happens actually beyond all the documentation, beyond the grammatical variation and the cognitive expression. It has been observed in a lot of the cases that excessive initiative-oriented leadership sometimes hinder the productivity and the motivation of the parents. Also to gain and regain and recalculate the way to motivate the different subordinates or fellow colleagues in different ways. Sometimes the leaders lacks to do so, and in case of the step oriented, initiative oriented leadership, sometimes the lacuna crept within that particular types of leadership on the part of that person to enhance the maximum productivity from their fellow colleagues. How do you define it? As you have already said through the matrix that there should be a proper balance, but it happens. So
Yeah, honestly speaking, I'm extremely sorry that I could not exactly get your question. Reason being that there was again a poor connectivity. There's a poor connectivity and it was just breaking. Your voice was completely breaking in between. Can you just make it a short, exactly not in nutshell, what exactly you want me to
sir,
go right on?
am I audible right now?
You are audible. You are audible. Yes.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes. Yes. You are audible.
I was just asking, you are talking about the initiative-oriented leadership, but in that structure, what often we have observed that in case of excessive step orientation or the initiative orientation, that sometimes hinders the basic productivity of the fellow colleagues. Since you have already said that there should be a proper balance between these two aspects, but excessive orientation or excessive initiative orientation types of leadership sometimes hinders the basic productivity of the fellow colleagues, or they got demotivated from the basic frame of work. And so for which actually basically what may be needed is about to implement specific motivational factors, or implement that should be implemented differently in accordance with the various the mindset of the colleagues. So how these could be identified through the matrix that you just have identified through the last
I got
couple
your
of slides.
point. Exactly. I got your point basically. The point actually is, as I said in the beginning also, that we have got leaders in academic institutions especially, they are accidental leaders, accidental in most of the cases, if not all, in most of the cases. The reason being that they get elevated to the position of any, say, headship, deanship, or directorship, or vice chancellorship, even principalship, only because of some parameters. And one among those parameters is, for example, the research. One of the parameters is, for example, the seniority of a person concerned, without looking into the other important parameters, which are, for example, the leadership qualities in a person concerned, leadership qualities. So when that is the case, a person is not basically able to identify how to deal with people, how to deal with whom. For instance, if there is an excessive, I can say, initiation orientation on the part of the leader, he is more towards task, more towards production. Possibilities that it may result in lessening the contribution and production of the employees. because of the pressure, because of the control system, because of all different kinds of mess, these kinds of people who turn out to be bureaucrats, academic bureaucrats, not leaders. So as a result of this, what is essentially important is that always there should be a kind of a exposure given to the persons who are heading the departments, who are acting as deans or vice chancellors. And this is, I mean, a reason, this is one of the important reasons that the Government of India, the University Grants Commission, Government of India has entered into the, we can say, agreements with a number of Indian institutes of management, some good private management institutions, wherein there are 5 days exclusive training programs on leadership development given to the vice chancellors. Imagine, to the vice chancellors. So they are being exposed to the nitty-gritties of leadership. What leadership is all about, how you can prosper, how you can develop your institutions, what should be your leadership style, how should you identify people, how should you basically harness their skills, hone their skills, own them. So the point actually is that we are though late, but the government is taking initiatives now to exposing these important academic leaders to the real world of leadership, so that they are able to run the affairs of their institutions appropriately, as per the demands of the time. So that past practices, the way they were conducting their business, colleges or their affairs in the college as principals or the vice chancellors are gone. Today's college principals and the vice chancellors of the universities need to be exposed. In this regard, of course, the government has been a little late, but there are initiatives now taken, but there are exclusive agreements with the various reputed management institutes or institutions where these particular principals and the, we can say, head of the institutions, the vice chancellors are being, I can say, motivated, encouraged to join these leadership programs. Basic idea is same, that you cannot work now with the past practices that you used to be. So you have to be a different one. So you inspire them. A leader has to be like that. Somebody has rightly quoted it. And he could be inspiring only once he has an exposure to inspiration. What does inspiration mean? How to inspire, how fair he is, how transparent he is. All that matters a lot. That's why we say that one of the important competencies of a leader are his skills, knowledge, integrity. All these are important. He has to have it. Any more questions?
No.
Applications?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Junish, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Nazir, sir.
Thank you.
Today we heard your experiences and you, and sure all must have been benefited. Thank you again, sir. Thank you all the team member who organized this session. Thank you all the participants and listeners. और अच्छा लगा है, बहुत बढ़िया लगा है, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So shall I take leave now?